this next practice that we're going to do, I think, is a really practical one. And it's one that I've actually been working on myself. And that is the practice of mindful listening. Because I tend to get really excited when in conversation with people and I start to insert myself into the conversation when it's probably not an appropriate time to do just that. So you can see on the screen here, this is going to be a little more involved of a practice where there's a 3-step process to it. But before we even get to that, I just want to kind of acknowledge that listening totally is a skill, right? And that's not just the teacher and me talking. I bring this up because it's something that we can always get better at, even if we think that we're pretty good at it already. And I think we've all been in conversation with people who are just like those soul nourishing people. When you're done chatting with them, you just feel fully seen and fully heard and fully understood. And I would wager to guess that if you've had this experience, you were talking to a very mindful listener. So we're going to hone our own skill in this together today. And step 1 will be all about gathering our thoughts. And this will be like before our practice sort of a situation. And then we'll roll into the actual practice itself of mindful listening. And then we'll carve out some time to reflect on how that went for us today. So I really just kind of really want to make this as concrete as possible. So mindfulness listening is really about attending completely to that other person. So I know this is like my personal weakness that I'm working on is interrupting someone. Anytime we interrupt someone, we've come out of a mindful listening space. Or if we try to empathize and insert our own story, again, that takes us out of mindful listening. Or even we're thinking about the next thing we want to say to that person because of something they've said that's triggered that thought within us. Again, we're out of a mindful listening space. So when you're mindfully listening, we're fully present in that moment. We're with that speaker in that conversation. And when you are really with that speaker, what you're really having to do is kind of put yourself to the side. So if you ever have seen people talk about mindfulness and how it helps with self-regulation, that's what we're working on here today. And as adults, we tend to be better at self-regulation, but if you have kids in your family or you are a teacher or you work with kids on a daily basis, this is where bringing mindfulness to them can be really, really beneficial. So mindful listening, we're kind of creating this stillness between us, where as the listener, I'm not worried about my inner chatter, right? And as the speaker, I'm not worried about your judgment or your prejudice about what I'm saying. We can just fully be present together. So that's the deal with mindful listening. So in order to practice this today, this is where we're gonna start to unmute our microphones. So before we practice though, I want you to think about something stressful in your life right now that you don't mind sharing with us. And then something you're looking forward to. So we're going with both pleasant and unpleasant discussion. So take a second right now, gather those thoughts. What's something that is stressful right now in your life and something you're really looking forward to? I'll give you a second and drink some water. All right. Now, as we gear up for this practice, this is our mission. Sorry, I'm thinking about this now and I'm like, dang, that's too much text on the screen. But we're all living and learning, right? So before we start sharing out, I want you to direct your attention to how it feels to speak as well as how it feels to listen. So obviously when you're the speaker, we're paying attention to how it feels in our bodies to speak, and when we're the listener, vice versa, how it feels in our bodies to listen. And just notice if there's any difference in listening or speaking about the stressful situation, listening and speaking about the thing you're looking forward to. And then if thoughts start to creep in, if judgments, if empathetic sort of reflections start to come into your mind, just notice, I'm thinking, and then come back to our anchor, which is the speaker this time rather than our breath. Right? Okay. So noticing any thoughts, but then similarly, some people aren't as like verbal linguistic when it comes to, something like this, like conversation. So you might feel like more sensation. So maybe you get some butterflies in your stomach. Just notice that happened and come back to the speaker. Or maybe your hands are sweaty or whatever. This can manifest in so many different ways. I think you get what I'm trying to say here, right? And then we're just going to give it like 1 to 2 minutes, just kind of sharing, let it naturally, kind of come to its natural conclusion. And then we'll process out at the end. Sound good? Okay. Who wants to be our brave first soul and be our first speaker?
So does our stressful moment have to have anything to do with our fun, what we're looking forward to moment?
No, they
No.
can be two totally separate things. That's a good
Okay,
question.
cool. Okay. Well, the stressful moment that I came up with was it is stressing me out trying to train my new puppy. That's a huge stressor. I mean, she's like potty trained, like, all right, cool, we got past that, but just like, any of the other things, like walking on a leash like a normal dog, or like not being a psycho and barking at everybody because you don't know anything in the world. And, so that's my stressful situation. And something I'm looking forward to is um, taking a trip to Florida at the end of the month. So that's my looking forward to thing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for getting us started, Dana. Who's next?
I don't know. I was trying to go early. My phone would not accept the microphone or whatever, so I had to that's why I left and came back in. So I'm
I'm glad
sorry.
you're back. No worries.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. So my stressful situation, I would say, would be trying to start a new business, and what I'm looking forward to is I'm going to Florida tomorrow.
So it's both the stressor and the looking forward to thing. Is that what you said?
No, tomorrow, kind of right. I have to get everything ready for the kids.
Okay.
It kind of is, yes.
Okay.
Like getting everything ready, the forms, the letter, yeah, all of that, just to leave here 3 days.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Stephanie.
All right, I'll go. I'm the last one. So for me, I'm going home in 2 weeks for my baby shower, and the stressor is I have to stay with my family, and they stress me out. And the thing I'm looking forward to though is my actual shower and then seeing my friends. So they are definitely intertwined. And something really good comes with something stressful, but I'm just trying to put out in the universe that it's going to be a good trip and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for sharing. Can you tell it's really hard for me to just listen and not comment? I'm trying to keep it to just thank you for sharing. Okay. So this is where I wanted to take a moment to kind of reflect. And this is something that, let's be honest, you're probably not going to do if you were in the middle of a conversation in real life, but it is a valuable step that we can make time for together today. But also that can be done upon reflection. If you do have a really stressful conversation with someone, or a very uplifting conversation with someone. And this is a lot of the questioning that I'll do like one-on-one with clients, so we can kind of get to the root of the issue, which unfortunately we don't have a ton of time for today, but I wanted to just give us like a little experience with this. So if you see these different questions on the list, just kind of peek at them and see what answer kind of bubbles up to the surface just naturally. And if one doesn't, then go to the next question. And then I'm going to get quiet so you can kind of do that.
Just whichever, any of these that we resonate with, you're saying? Sorry.
Yeah. And so now we can open it up to share out anyone that, like you said, resonated with you. I just think it's really beneficial when we're on like a journey like this, trying out some new techniques. It's so much more helpful when we can hear what other people's experience is like, because someone else can sometimes voice something that we're maybe struggling to say for ourselves, you know?
Mhm.
So anybody who wants to give it a whirl, any question, kind of sharing what came up.
For me, number two, when I think Jimmy might, I can't see the people's name now, but when you're talking about going home, being stressful with your family for your baby shower, my mind wandered to that because I'm like, that's literally how I feel. Even though I love them and they're like good people, it's there's like this element that is just so stressful.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I got like distracted thinking about my baby shower, and there's
Yeah.
also like, I had a great shower, but I had good memories flooded also. But I definitely had that when you brought that up.
Yeah, so that connection piece kind of came up. It
Yeah,
sounds like that empathetic response. You're like, I know, I've been there.
Yep, basically.
Yep, totally natural reaction.
Yeah.
What else?
I empathized with Dana when she was talking about her puppy. So just because I remember training, like it's like it's hard for your mind not to go to your situation. And I just wanted to be like, oh my God, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna get so great. And you're just gonna be obsessed with it. And like, but then you need to just listen.
Yeah, it's that skill, right? And I think for those of us who are natural like caregivers or just like good, kind people, that's our first gut instinct, is to like offer support, offer help, right? Like cheer them on, like it's gonna be okay. Yeah, totally. Awesome.
Yeah, it helps though, like when you're muted, because then you can't like, interject or what have you. So that kind of helped practicing this tool, I think too.
Yeah.
Because yeah, same. It was like, oh my God, oh yeah, oh okay, good. I'm glad I'm muted. Otherwise, I would have totally just interrupted you, like So
Yeah.
yeah, so
So,
it is interesting to think though that we probably do that all day with other conversations, and we kind of start to drift off into our own thing, just relating it back to ourselves. And to us, that might be, oh, I'm paying so much attention though, because I'm like relating to what you're talking about. But then when we're doing that, we're probably missing everything that they said after that. Or
yeah, or the nuance to what they're saying, because we get lost in our experience and
yeah.
we're not quite connecting with what's the multi layers of what it is that they're sharing too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think this is one, like I'm thinking about question number 6. What would happen if we practice mindful listening with each person you spoke with? I want to like kind of manage expectations and say, I think that would be really hard if you were just like, all right, all day tomorrow, I'm going to mindfully listen to everyone, because it is a new skill and that's going to require a lot of energy. So I would suggest, if you want to continue this practice and continue putting yourself to the side and really being with that person, taking in what they're saying in the here and the now, maybe pick like a person or an interaction so that we're not going too much too fast, like we talked about earlier, because we don't want, there is such thing as too much of a good thing, right? And eventually we can get better, that this becomes second nature. But again, just kind of taming that inner perfectionist, this doesn't have to be all the time with everyone every day. So food for thought.